I knew going into Two Graves that I would absolutely love that piece. Not only because of because of the rock entrance, being a big metalhead, of course, that's a point of appeal, but ANBERLIN. I've said it before, they're one of the groups that got me into metal in the first place, or metal/rock, especially in the Christian scene. ANBERLIN was, a beloved group of mine since I was a kid. I remember when Ready Fuels came out, that video was just, it was so surreal for me when I was young. And still to this day, ANBERLIN is one of my top favorites. So when I found out that new music had released, apart from what I considered to be a hiatus, I think everybody had, we thought, ANBERLIN's kind of gone for a bit. Nope, they're back. And they came back with a pretty good punch, in my opinion. Two Graves was a wonderful piece, and having covered it twice, not only in consideration of the track, but also the video that came alongside, having two experiences of how good that piece is. And considering it as well, in terms of the music video release, I'm part of the official Silverline EP, I'm like, it's only 5 songs in total. Why not cover the remainder? I had such a good time with the first track. Let's consider the rest. And in some way, even though I'm covering this a bit late, and I apologize, I've got a lot of music I can sold these days. Why not commemorate the arrival of more ANBERLIN stuff, even if it is a smaller EP, not necessarily an official album, but how many of us thought we weren't going to get this, years ago when the band's like, well, we're taking a break or whatever, we're disbanding. I forget what it was they said. I thought it was a disbanding. And then they came back together for more. I appreciated, again, going back to my roots of Christian rock, what really brought me into the rock genre generally in the first place. And they're not the only one, but ANBERLIN was probably one of the oldest, but it was one of the largest influences. Let's consult the tracks piece by piece over the next couple of days, at least when I'm recording this, with Silverline EP, starting with Nothing Lost. I like that name, but I'm really engaged to hear it. Again, coming off of Two Graves. And ANBERLIN has a bit of a varied approach in terms of styling of what they produce on their records. So I'm curious to see which direction this goes down. It could go down the more ballad side, the more emphasized rock roots. We'll see together, won't we? But it's ANBERLIN. I think we're going to have fun either way. Maybe for some of you, you're coming at this from a perspective of being extremely familiar with the group. I would imagine some of you are. They're a pretty big name. Others, this will probably be a fresh listen. I hope it'll be a good introduction for you. Again, I love ANBERLIN, and bringing them on as part of evolving music as a presence here with wonderful established name talents. And I bring on fresh introductions as well all the time. Maybe some smaller artists and name prominence as well. But music, generally speaking, I've wanted to bring it on to more principal role being my most beloved art form of consumption, apart from others of what I cover normally on this channel. Music, for me, I gravitate immediately. And evolving that presence over the 2023 year, especially coming off of 2022, I'm very happy about the direction things are going. To spotlight a group like ANBERLIN, I love the opportunity to do so. So let's do that with Nothing Lost. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the piece as well as cue up the lyrics for you on screen like I normally do. Again, maybe some of you are approaching my content as well from a first perspective, and this is an introductory video. I like to accommodate listener taste to the best extent that I can, and rather than have you exhaust yourself and point up multiple tabs, right, where you've got maybe me on one screen and the lyrics on the other, I give you everything. So those will be available in the video for you, and you can just read along with the piece if you so wish. Anywho, Nothing Lost. I haven't looked at it in depth in terms of a lyrical perspective. I haven't necessarily looked into the intent of the message as well. We'll see if it flushes it out in the song. ANBERLIN might take a bit of a more contemplative approach. Some of their songs require that. Let's see which direction it goes. And perhaps on the music side, what is this going to sound like? I'm curious. Let's gauge it. Hang on. Alright. Here we go. Nothing Lost. And all the other tracks on Silverline, by the way, soon to follow. Thick guitar, okay. This one, pleasantly speaking, feels a bit dated. I like that energy. Kind of refers back to the past of music, at least for me generally, in style. Kind of like 90s, maybe? 90s, 80s, somewhere around there. The vocals on this are wonderful with some electronic modulation, but still that defined Stephen Christian quality. I love listening to him sing. I like it. I've missed ANBERLIN. Good mixed emphasis. This song's got a great longevity to it. Great instrumental break. It may not be the hardest work they've ever done, but it's so unique, though, in its personality, for me. Has a great introduction. It's a wonderful experience. Let that linger. Great transition use. I like this. The song carries itself so well. I love that piece. We've needed an ANBERLIN return, haven't we? You know, it's so fresh, and it's so them. I love the personality of this piece. I mean, it has this bit of like I can't best relate to this generally on... I've spoken this before of ANBERLIN as well in regards to that foundational experience. I came to them with Ready Fuel specifically through the old Video Zone show on Sky Angel. Some of you, I don't know how many people, one of you did. I remember somebody commented like, oh yeah, I remember that. I think that was in connection to Cutlass, so I don't know if it was ANBERLIN. So somebody out there remembers. It wasn't only me. But I remember, growing up in the early 2000s with that show, and I miss it, by the way. That was a great program. I miss Video Zone so much. For those of you who aren't aware, it was basically like a giant hit / new Christian song / live experience music video hit list that was on, I forget how many days of the week. Maybe it was just one day of the week. I don't remember exactly. But I used to watch them all and repeat. I've got some of them on a VHS tape somewhere. Oh man, oh no, it's such a fun show. It's buried in storage, I think, but man, I miss it. That show was what brought me into ANBERLIN. But when I say 80s, 90s vibe, I'm thinking not, because I was born in 97, so I can't necessarily relate back, and maybe others are better experiencing this, and I didn't grow up with secularized music. I've introduced myself to a broader balance in years since. I was raised on Christian music. When I say 80s, 90s, I think back to the music that was carried on Video Zone a lot of the time, and they carried a good mix of videos in age. Like, in the early 2000s, I forget when I watched that as a kid, probably in 2004, 2005, 2006, somewhere around there, maybe some years after. I'm trying to get maybe artists that were on there in terms of the spotlight events. Robert Randolph and the Family Band, big hit, love them, going in the right direction. That song's so great. Different genre from ANBERLIN, but wonderful. Rich Mullins, remember him? The Cry, Petra. I remember again, I listen to this, and again, I think back to some of those older hits, like with Petra as well. When did that one track go? I'm thinking back in the Spotlight. That was it was a 3-song reel. When did Beat the System come out? That was the first one. Yeah, I'm really digging back here. Petra. When was that song released? Just as an example. Not 2007. That's when it was uploaded. 1984. Yeah, 80s. So again, they carried a good mix. I listened to this piece and it feels very retro. Like, it's new, obviously, but in feeling and in presence, it dates back a bit. And it's got at least, I found the lyrics, again, like I said, sometimes these songs require more contemplation. It had a bit of a romantic vibe to me, didn't? I don't know if anybody else could speak to that, but for me, in listening to it, say nothing is ever lost, say now that I'm right, don't ever go gently down the right path, wrong road. I mean, it could be speaking to a variety of things. Perhaps the ideas that you're extracting from it are different from mine. Music can be very introspective and subjective to the listener, so maybe there's something you're hearing that I'm not, and you get an entirely different impression of what the message is speaking to you, maybe from personal experience as well. I mean, you can certainly adapt focuses based on your life. And I like it. You know, it has speaking of roads, it has a good path to the song. Like, I almost feel like I'm listening to a song sort of on this tourist journey of sorts. I feel like it paves a nice, methodical meandering, a general procession, right? That's very easy to imagine, but it has a feeling, again, it's very consistent in its delivery. The pacing, I think, is quite effective. It's got a great energy and a balance between a softer side of what ANBERLIN can do and the harsher rock roots. There was an influence of that as well in the background. I love the vocal modulation, even though there's some parts as well, especially in the background integration, you can clearly hear Stephen Christian. I love listening to his voice. The guy is one of my favorite vocalists probably of any artist I've listened to. I just love hearing him. It's a great personality to hear on a song. I think Stephen Christian just elevates every work I've heard quite well. And he's done other collaborations with artists I've listened to. Let's say, for example, I think I mentioned this one previously as well, Fireflight. Never big influence in the Christian rock sphere, especially in the last couple of years. What was the track he did with them? Safety? I think that was off of Innova. And that one had a good mix, I would say, and fit with the energy of what ANBERLIN has done in terms of a mix of feeling. But just hearing him sing is an experience. And Two Graves fit that very well. I mean, that was a wonderful, like, hey, ANBERLIN's made a comeback here. This is like, you know, again, it's new ANBERLIN stuff. I'm just kind of back in that mode right now of where I was as a kid. It's new, but it's such a great piece. This is the experience I love with music, especially on tunes that are familiarized to me and that are in some way, I mean, they're new, but they're nostalgic. It just feels like I'm reliving my past again. Right when I came into the rock scene, ANBERLIN was one of those defined voices in my mind. I'd love to hear if that was your experience down below. Whether you happen to be a long-time ANBERLIN listener, I'm sure, as I said, some of you are approaching this video from that angle, or for some of you, this is going to be a fresh introduction. If so, please go back to the remainder of their albums of what they produced thus far. I highly recommend it. You will be pleased. I think ANBERLIN's going to be a quick hit if you've never heard them before. And start with Ready Fuels and work up. Start the way I did. That was the foundational tune. That'll set you off nicely. So, best I can recommend to you. But let me know your thoughts generally down below if you wish to disclose your perspective. And what did you think of the piece? Or where did you see the message going for you? Again, I think some of these tracks that they've done, because I'm not going off of an intended meaning here of what the artist would disclose, so I'm going in this completely blind on a first impression with you. But I like the energy to it. It paves its path quite well. The pacing's very effective. The vocals work wonderfully for me. The balance of the music energy, fabulous. It's a great piece, especially coming off of Two Graves. It easily puts me in a position where I'm like, I gotta hear the next track. Let's keep this journey going forward, right? Just like the song saying, you know, don't go down the right path or don't go down the right path, wrong road. Go down the right path, and that'd be with ANBERLIN going forward of Silverline and listening to the remainder of the tracks. Again, I will consult those in separate videos, but Nothing Lost is a wonderful piece. Great addition to their library. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.